The warship floated quietly in the vast darkness of space. Inside, the alien warriors of the Zarkon clan prepared for their next mission. The ship was large and strong, filled with the sound of machines and the chatter of warriors. They were proud and fearless, ready to conquer new worlds. Among the warriors, a group of young soldiers gathered around the main hall. They laughed and joked about Earth, a small planet far away. They had heard stories about humans, but they thought these stories were silly. The young warriors did not believe humans could be strong or brave. Dylan Hayes, one of the younger warriors, smiled as he listened to the others. "Humans? They are weak," he said loudly. "Their stories are just old myths. They can't fight like us. They don't have our power." The others laughed with him. They spoke of the strange tales they had heard, stories about humans fighting against great dangers with only their will and courage. To the Zarkon, these were just fairy tales, not real. They believed strength was what mattered, and humans had very little. General Kyle, the leader of the Zarkon warriors, entered the room. He was tall and strong, with sharp eyes that could see through anyone. He heard the young warriors talking and smiled. "You are right to laugh," he said. "Humans are weak and slow. Their myths are nothing. We will crush them if they come near." Dylan nodded, feeling proud. He wanted to be like General Kale, strong and sure. But inside, he wondered if the humans might be different from what everyone said. Still, he kept his thoughts to himself. Suddenly, a message came through the ship's communication system. It was from a small human ship near the edge of their territory. The humans sent a calm message. They said they did not want to fight, but they warned the Zarkon not to come closer. The warriors laughed again. "See, they are scared," one said. "They know they cannot beat us." Dylan listened carefully to the message. There was something in the human voice that was not fear. It was calm and steady, full of quiet strength. He did not say anything, but he felt a strange feeling inside. The warriors prepared to continue their journey. They did not know that the humans they mocked had a secret. They had stories that were more than just myths, and one day these stories would change everything for the Zarkon clan. The next day, the Zarkon warriors gathered in the main hall of their ship. They talked about the human stories again. This time, the talk was louder and more excited. Some warriors still laughed, but others began to listen more carefully. Dylan Hayes stood near the center watching the group. He wanted to tell them what he had learned about the humans, but many warriors did not want to hear anything good about Earth or its people. They thought humans were small and weak. One warrior named Luke Mason spoke up. "I don't believe those stories. Humans can't be strong. They live on a tiny planet with weak animals. How can they fight great wars like we do?" Dylan wanted to answer, but before he could, General Kale entered again. His voice was loud and clear. "Listen well," he said. "Humans have myths, yes, but myths do not win battles. Strength and power win battles. Our warriors are the best. We have nothing to fear." The room went quiet. Everyone respected General Kale's words. He was wise and strong, and they trusted him. Still, Dylan could not stop thinking about the humans. He remembered the calm voice of their captain. There was something different about them, something real. Later that day, the ship landed on a small planet near the border of their space. The warriors went out to explore. They found strange things, old tools, pieces of metal, and a small box with writing on it. It looked like a human artifact. Dylan picked up the box carefully. It was light but strong. There were drawings on the box, images of people helping each other, fighting dangers, and standing tall against great odds. The drawings told stories. Dylan showed the box to the others. "These are human stories," he said quietly. "They are about courage and hope. Maybe humans are not so weak after all." Some warriors looked at the box with surprise. A few smiled. They began to think differently. General Kyle came to see the artifact. He looked closely and then shook his head. "These are only stories," he said. Stories cannot protect us. Only our strength can. But deep inside, even Kale felt a small doubt. He wondered if there was more to the humans than he had believed. That night, Dylan sat alone with the box. He studied the stories and felt a new feeling: respect for the humans and their spirit. He knew that one day these stories might be more important than anyone could guess. The Jarkon warship moved silently through space toward the edge of their territory. Inside, Dylan Hayes sat quietly, thinking about the human stories he had seen. The stories were unlike anything he had heard before. They told of hope, courage, and strength even in the darkest times. Suddenly, the ship's communication system beeped. A message came from the small human scout ship nearby. This time, the message was clear and direct. The humans said they did not want to fight, but were ready to defend themselves if needed. Their captain, Mia Garrett, spoke with calm confidence. Dylan listened carefully. The humans were different from what many Jarkon believed. They did not show fear. Instead, they showed respect and strength. The message was a warning and a promise. The other warriors laughed when they heard the message. "Humans speak with pride, but they are still weak," said Luke Mason. "They cannot win against us." General Kale stood and said, "Our strength will crush any who challenge us. Humans or not." Dylan felt a mix of fear and curiosity. He wondered if the humans were hiding something. He wished to meet Captain Mia Garrett and see their courage with his own eyes. As the ship approached the human border, the Jarkon prepared for a possible fight. Weapons were checked, and warriors stood ready. But Dylan hoped for peace. Then, the unexpected happened. A human ship appeared, not far from the Jarkon vessel. It was small, but fast. Captain Mia Garrett and her crew came aboard to talk. Dylan watched as the humans entered. They looked smaller and less strong than the Jarkon, but their eyes were full of fire. Captain Mia spoke clearly and calmly. She said her people wanted to avoid war, but would fight fiercely if needed. The Jarkon warriors were surprised by her words. Dylan felt a strange respect for her. She was brave and honest. For the first time, the two groups sat together and shared stories. The humans told of their struggles and hopes. The Jarkon listened, and some began to feel a new respect for these strange beings called humans. Dylan realized that the human myths were not just stories. They were lessons in courage and strength. He felt a new hope that maybe the Jarkon and humans could find a way to live together. The meeting ended with no fight. Both sides agreed to watch each other closely, but not to attack. Dylan knew this was only the beginning. As the human ship left, Dylan stood and looked at the stars. He whispered to himself, "Maybe the stories are true. Maybe humans are stronger than we thought." The Jarkon warriors were still unsure about the humans. Some were curious, but most still thought the humans were weak. Dylan, however, wanted to learn more. He kept thinking about the strange box they had found with the human stories. One day, while the ship rested near a quiet planet, Dylan opened the box again. Inside, there were small images and symbols. They showed humans helping each other, fighting dangers, and never giving up. The stories spoke of hope and courage even when things seemed impossible. Dylan read the stories slowly. He felt like the humans were teaching him something important. He took the box to show it to his closest friends. "Look at this," Dylan said softly. "These stories are about real strength. It is not just about fighting. It is about standing up even when you are afraid." His friends were quiet. Some looked surprised. Others did not believe him. Suddenly, the ship's alarms rang loud. The Jarkon were under attack. A rival alien clan had found them. The warriors rushed to their stations. Weapons were ready, and the ship moved fast to defend itself. Dylan stayed calm. He remembered the human stories. He thought about courage and hope. He wanted to help in a new way. When the battle began, the Jarkon fought with all their strength. But the enemy was strong and clever. The fight was hard and long. Dylan saw an opening. He used a different plan, one he had learned from the human stories. Instead of just fighting, he used surprise and careful thinking. He led a small group of warriors to outsmart the enemy. The plan worked. The enemy was confused and lost. The Jarkon won the battle. After the fight, the warriors looked at Dylan with new respect. Even General Kale nodded slowly. "Your plan was good," Kale said. "Maybe there is more to strength than we thought." Dylan smiled but did not feel proud. He knew the stories had helped him. The human way was different, but it worked. That night, Dylan looked at the stars. He thought about the humans and their courage. He wanted to learn more. Maybe one day the Jarkon and humans could be friends, not enemies. The ship was ready to move on. But Dylan was ready for something new. He was ready to change the way his people thought. The Jarkon clan faced many dangers. Their enemies were strong and fierce, always looking for a chance to attack. After the recent battle, the warriors knew they had to be ready for anything. Dylan Hayes felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. One morning, as the warship traveled through space, a new challenge appeared. An enemy clan, larger and more powerful than before, moved to block their path. The Jarkon prepared for a fight that could change their future. Dylan studied the situation carefully. He remembered the human stories about facing great dangers with courage and smart plans. He wanted to try something different. "General Kale," Dylan said, "we cannot win this fight by just using force. We need to use new tactics like the humans do." Kale frowned. "Our strength has always been enough," he said. "Why should we change now?" Dylan stood tall. "Because the enemy is strong. We must think like humans, use our minds, not just our muscles." The general looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Very well. Show me your plan." Dylan gathered a group of warriors who believed in him. They trained hard, learning new ways to fight. Dylan taught them how to work together, to be clever, and to trust each other. When the enemy arrived, the Jarkon were ready. Dylan led the warriors in a surprise attack. Instead of fighting head-on, they used quick moves and teamwork. They avoided the enemy's strongest fighters and targeted weak points. The battle was fierce. The Jarkon worked like a single unit, moving fast and smart. The humans' lessons in courage and unity had changed them. At one point, Dylan faced the enemy leader in a close fight. Instead of using just strength, he used his speed and cleverness to win. The enemy was shocked. The Jarkon defeated the enemy clan. Their victory was not just from power, but from their new way of thinking. General Kale came to Dylan and said, "You have proven that strength alone is not enough. Your ideas saved us." Dylan smiled but said, "It was the human stories that showed me the way. They are more than myths. They teach us how to be strong inside." The warriors cheered for Dylan. They felt proud and hopeful. From that day, the Jarkon began to change. They still valued strength but learned to use their minds and hearts too. Dylan knew the fight was not over, but he was ready. With courage and cleverness, the Jarkon could face any challenge. The quiet space near the border of Jarkon territory suddenly became busy. A small human ship arrived, moving fast and steady. On board was Captain Mia Garrett and her crew. They came not to fight but to help. The Jarkon warriors watched carefully as the humans boarded their ship. The warriors were tall and strong, but the humans moved with calm confidence. Captain Mia stepped forward and spoke clearly. "We do not want war," she said, "but if danger comes, we will defend ourselves and our friends." Dylan Hayes listened to her voice. It was strong but calm. He felt respect growing inside him for this human leader. The Jarkon had a problem. A new enemy clan was growing stronger nearby. They threatened both humans and Jarkon. Fighting alone would be dangerous for both sides. Captain Mia and General Kyle talked for a long time. They agreed to work together to face this common threat. It was the first time humans and Jarkon spoke as partners, not enemies. Dylan was surprised but happy. He knew that working together was the right choice. He thought about the human stories again, the stories of hope, courage, and teamwork. When the enemy attacked, humans and Jarkon fought side by side. Dylan saw humans and warriors helping each other. The humans used their quick minds and the Jarkon used their strength. Together, they were stronger than either alone. During the battle, Dylan saved a human soldier who was trapped. The human looked at him with thanks and trust. Dylan smiled. This was a new kind of battle, one fought with respect. Captain Mia led her crew with skill and calm. She showed the Jarkon how humans could face danger without fear. The warriors began to see humans in a new light. The fight was hard, but the humans and Jarkon won. They pushed the enemy clan back and secured their space. After the battle, Dylan and Captain Mia talked quietly. They shared stories of their people, stories of courage and hope that kept them strong. Dylan said, "Your people's stories are real. They teach us how to be brave and strong inside." Mia smiled. "And your people teach us about honor and strength." The alliance between humans and Jarkon grew stronger. Both sides learned from each other. Dylan felt proud. The humans had shown him a new way to fight, not just with weapons, but with trust and courage. The war was not over, but a new chapter had begun. After the battle with the enemy clan, the Jarkon warriors gathered again. Many of them were tired but proud. They had fought well and had new respect for the humans who had helped them, but not everyone was happy. General Kale sat in his private room thinking deeply. He was a strong leader and had always believed in the power of strength alone. Now, he was unsure. Dylan Hayes had spoken to him many times about the human myths, not as just stories, but as lessons of courage and wisdom. Dylan came to see General Kale. He spoke calmly and clearly. "The humans' stories are not just tales. They show us a way to be strong inside, not just with weapons. True power comes from courage and unity." Kyle looked at Dylan, his eyes sharp. "You speak of things I have never believed. Strength is what wins wars. How can stories change that?" Dylan answered. "Stories give us hope. They teach us to stand when we want to fall. The humans have faced terrible dangers, but they keep fighting. That is real strength." The general was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Perhaps you are right. Maybe our way must change if we want to survive." Dylan felt hope growing. He knew this was the start of something new. The next day, Dylan gathered a group of warriors. He told them the human stories again, about courage, hope, and never giving up. The warriors listened carefully. Some smiled and others nodded. "We must not only be strong with our weapons," Dylan said. "We must be strong in our hearts and minds. We can learn from the humans." The warriors began to train differently. They practiced not just fighting, but also working together, helping each other, and thinking carefully before acting. Time passed, and the Jarkon clan grew stronger in new ways. They still had their power, but now they had something more: the courage to face fear and the wisdom to choose their battles. One evening, Dylan stood outside the ship and looked at the stars. He thought about the humans and their stories. He understood now that myths could be truth waiting to be shown. He whispered to himself, "Sometimes the greatest strength is believing in something more than just power." The Jarkon warriors were changing, and with Dylan's courage and the human stories, their future looked brighter. The Jarkon and humans now faced a new threat together. A much larger enemy clan was moving through their space, ready to attack anyone in its way. Both the humans and the Jarkon knew they had to act fast to protect their homes. Dylan Hayes worked closely with Captain Mia Garrett. They planned carefully how to stop this powerful enemy. Dylan used what he had learned from the human stories, about courage, teamwork, and using the mind in battle. The Jarkon warriors trained with the human soldiers. They shared their skills and learned from each other. The humans admired the strength and honor of the Jarkon. The Jarkon respected the humans' clever ideas and hope. As the enemy approached, both sides prepared for a big fight. The battle would decide the future of their worlds. When the fight began, it was fierce and loud. The enemy was strong, but the alliance of humans and Jarkon was stronger. Dylan led a group of warriors on a special mission. They used a plan, inspired by human stories to surprise the enemy. Dylan's team moved quickly and carefully. They avoided the strongest fighters and found a way to weaken the enemy's defenses. The mission was dangerous, but Dylan's courage and the lessons from the human stories guided him. The battle lasted for many hours. Both sides fought hard, but the humans and Jarkon worked as one. Their trust in each other grew with every move. At the end, the enemy clan was pushed back. The Alliance had won an important victory. After the fight, Captain Mia and General Kale stood together. They looked at the warriors who had fought bravely. Kale said, "Today, we saw that strength is not just power, it is also courage, wisdom, and unity." Mia smiled and added, "Together we are stronger than we ever were alone." Dylan felt proud. The human stories had helped him and his people. They had shown that courage and hope could change the future. The warriors celebrated their victory but knew that peace would take work. They promised to keep learning from each other and to protect their new friendship. As the stars shone above, Dylan looked at the sky. He thought about the journey they had made, from laughter and doubt to trust and respect. He whispered, "The myths we once laughed at are now our guide. We will carry their lessons into the future." The story of the humans and Jarkon was no longer just a tale, it was real, and it was just beginning. The final battle came quickly. The enemy clan was larger and more dangerous than ever before. They threatened to destroy everything the humans and Jarkon had built together. Both sides knew this fight would decide their future. Dylan Hayes stood ready. He felt the weight of his people's hopes on his shoulders. He thought about the human myths, stories of heroes who faced impossible odds and never gave up. These stories had inspired him and many others. Captain Mia Garrett and General Kale stood beside Dylan. Their faces showed determination and trust. They knew they must fight as one. The battle began with loud explosions and flashing lights. The enemy attacked fiercely, but the alliance of humans and Jarkon stood strong. They worked together, covering each other's weaknesses. Dylan led a special team on a dangerous mission. His goal was to reach the enemy's command center and stop their leader. The team moved quietly and quickly, using the clever tactics Dylan had learned from the human stories. When they reached the command center, they found the enemy leader waiting. A fierce fight followed. Dylan used his speed and courage to face the enemy. The fight was hard, but Dylan did not give up. He remembered the stories of heroes who never quit. With a final move, Dylan defeated the enemy leader. The enemy forces began to lose hope and started to retreat. Back on the battlefield, the Alliance saw their enemies fall. The humans and Jarkon cheered. They had won. After the battle, General Kale spoke to the warriors. "Today, you showed true strength, not just power, but courage and heart." Captain Mia added, "The stories we once thought were just myths have guided us. They taught us to believe in ourselves and each other." Dylan smiled. He knew the human stories were no longer just tales. They were real and powerful. The victory brought peace to the space both sides shared. The humans and Jarkon promised to keep working together, to protect their new home. Dylan looked at the stars and felt proud. The myths had become truth. They had helped shape the future. He whispered, "Our courage and hope will light the way for all who come after us." The story of humans and Jarkon was now a legend, a story of bravery, trust, and friendship. After the great battle, peace returned to the space shared by humans and the Jarkon. The two groups began to build a new future together. They knew that strength alone was not enough to keep peace. They needed respect, trust, and hope. Dylan Hayes walked through the camp where humans and Jarkon worked side by side. He saw warriors teaching humans how to fight with honor, and humans showing the Jarkon new ways to think and solve problems. The stories that once seemed like myths were now part of their lives. They inspired everyone to be brave and kind. Dylan remembered the first time he heard those human stories. Now they were real lessons for all. General Kale stood beside Dylan, looking out at the stars. You were right, Kale said quietly. The stories are more than words. They hold truth and power. Dylan smiled. The stories teach us how to face fear and stand together. Captain Mia Garrett joined them. This is just the beginning, she said. We must keep learning from each other. Dylan thought about the long journey they had made, from doubt and laughter to respect and friendship. The humans and Jarkon had changed. They were stronger and wiser. The warriors trained together, shared meals, and told stories late into the night. The old myths of humans and aliens fighting were replaced by new stories, stories of heroes who chose peace and courage. One evening, Dylan stood outside under the wide sky. He felt the wind and looked at the stars shining bright. He knew the future was full of hope. He whispered softly, "Sometimes the myths we laugh at hold the greatest truths. They show us who we can be." The Jarkon warriors who once laughed at human myths now told those stories with pride. They knew the myths were not just stories but a guide to their new way of life. Dylan felt proud of the change. The journey was hard, but it was worth it. The alliance between humans and Jarkon would last because it was built on respect and courage. As the stars shone above, Dylan closed his eyes and dreamed of a future where all beings could live in peace. The story of the humans and Jarkon was no longer just a tale. It was their true history, one of bravery, hope, and friendship that would inspire many generations to come.